There's a peculiar, universal feeling when something great is about to happen. The heart of someone sensitive to good things gives certain signs that God is preparing them to live a new phase in life. If this feeling has taken hold of you, if you identified with this description, there's a good chance you've been guided by something greater to hear this message of hope. Most people will never hear what you're about to discover, and the ones who dismiss it will probably spend another decade wondering why love keeps slipping through their fingers. There's a radical truth buried deep in the Bible that completely dismantles everything modern culture has taught about finding a soulmate, and it starts with this: the person chosen for you isn't lost, isn't late, and isn't a matter of luck. They are being deliberately, purposefully, and supernaturally delivered to you by a God who designed your longing for marriage before you ever felt it. Something guided you to this message. Not an algorithm, not a random scroll, but the same quiet force that has been writing your story long before you understood there was a story being written. Maybe you've been praying for years, and the silence has started to feel like rejection. Maybe you've watched everyone around you find their person, while you've quietly wondered if you somehow missed your moment. Maybe you've almost given up, not on God, but on the idea that His plans for you could possibly include the deep, lasting, extraordinary love you've never stopped dreaming about. What if everything you've walked through, every heartbreak, every delay, every detour, was never working against you, but has been working precisely and intentionally to bring you to this exact moment of clarity? This isn't a motivational pep talk, and it isn't a list of dating tips dressed up in spiritual language. This is a message about the 4 shocking, real, and biblically grounded ways that God literally delivers a soulmate to the person He has chosen. And if you've been waiting, growing, and believing, there is a very real possibility that your delivery is already on its way. There's something quietly powerful about the way certain people show up in someone's life at exactly the right moment. Not a day too early, not a year too late, but precisely when the heart is finally ready to receive them. Millions of Americans have experienced this in ways they can't fully explain. That strange feeling that a meeting wasn't accidental, that something larger than coincidence was at work behind the scenes. When a person begins to explore their spirituality more deeply, they often start to notice that God doesn't operate on human schedules, and that the waiting season they've been enduring wasn't wasted time at all. It was preparation time. The Bible speaks directly to this truth in Ecclesiastes 3:1, reminding us that there is a season for everything and a time for every purpose under heaven. And that includes love. For the person who has been wondering if their soulmate is ever going to show up, this is the kind of truth that can shift everything. Divine timing doesn't mean passive waiting. It means trusting that what's been chosen for someone is being carefully orchestrated behind the scenes. And the beautiful thing is, God's timing is never early and never late. It's always exactly right. Many people have made the mistake of forcing relationships that weren't meant to last simply because they got tired of waiting for the real thing. But when the chosen connection finally arrives, it carries a weight and a clarity that manufactured love never could. That undeniable feeling of rightness is often the first fingerprint God leaves on a divinely timed relationship. What makes divine timing so fascinating is that it often works through what looks like delay, disappointment, or even detour. Someone loses a job and ends up at a new church. A vacation gets rerouted and they meet someone unexpectedly. A relationship falls apart, and in the healing process, they find themselves exactly where their future partner also happens to be rebuilding. These aren't accidents. These are the quiet, sovereign movements of a God who sees the full picture when human eyes can only see the next step. The Bible backs this up in Romans 8:28, where it promises that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to His purpose. That word "called" isn't casual. It implies that there's a chosen path, a specific design, a life that was mapped out with intention. Spirituality opens the eyes to recognize these moments for what they really are: divine appointments rather than random encounters. And for the person who has been lonely, overlooked, or heartbroken, this realization carries enormous emotional weight. It means the story isn't over. It means the right person hasn't passed them by. They simply haven't arrived yet. And when they do, the divine timing of their entrance will make perfect sense. There's also a deeply personal dimension to how God uses timing in matters of the heart. And it involves the inner work that gets done in the in-between seasons. Before a marriage can be truly whole, the people entering it need to be in a place of genuine readiness, emotionally, spiritually, and sometimes even practically. God often uses the waiting period to heal old wounds, build character, and develop the kind of depth that sustains a relationship through real-life challenges. The person who gets impatient with the process often misses the growth that the process was designed to produce. It's in those quiet, solitary seasons that spirituality often deepens and becomes a foundation rather than a footnote. And it's that deepened faith that eventually becomes one of the most attractive and stabilizing forces in a God-led relationship. The Bible describes a virtuous partner in Proverbs 31, not just as someone who is loving, but as someone who is strong, wise, and grounded, qualities that are forged over time, not stumbled upon overnight. When two people who have both done that inner work finally meet, there's a kind of resonance that goes beyond physical attraction or shared interests. It's a recognition, a deep knowing that this person was chosen not just for their joy, but for their growth, their calling, and their future together. One of the most overlooked ways God moves in someone's love life is through the people already surrounding them. Friends, family members, co-workers, even strangers who say exactly the right thing at exactly the right moment. Most people think of finding a soulmate as a solo journey, a personal quest that depends entirely on their own efforts, their own dating profiles, their own social calendar. But the Bible paints a very different picture, one where God consistently uses human vessels to carry divine instructions to the people He's chosen for a specific purpose. Think about the story of Ruth and Boaz. It wasn't a chance encounter born out of Ruth's strategic planning. It was Naomi, her mother-in-law, who guided her, advised her, and helped position her in the right place at the right time. That kind of human involvement in a God-directed love story isn't the exception. It's actually the pattern. Spirituality teaches that every relationship in someone's life carries potential significance, and that the people closest to them may be carrying a message they haven't fully listened to yet. A friend who keeps mentioning someone, a family member who makes an introduction that feels almost too perfectly timed, a mentor who speaks a word of encouragement that sends someone in a brand new direction. These moments deserve more attention than they typically get, because they may be the very channels through which God is delivering the person He's chosen for them. What's striking about this pattern is how ordinary the messengers tend to be. They're not angels with glowing wings or prophets standing on street corners. They're co-workers who invite someone to a cookout. They're old college friends who reconnect on social media and say, "Hey, I know someone you should meet." They're small group leaders at church who create environments where two people who were both searching end up in the same room. God has always been in the business of using the natural to accomplish the supernatural, and the realm of marriage and relationships is no different. The Bible shows this clearly in the story of Isaac and Rebekah, where Abraham sent his servant, a human messenger, on a divinely guided mission to find a wife for his son. That servant prayed, moved, and trusted, and God directed every step. The same dynamic is alive and well today for anyone with eyes open enough to see it. Spirituality isn't just about personal prayer and private devotion. It's also about recognizing the divine fingerprints on everyday human interactions. When someone starts viewing the people in their life through that lens, they begin to notice how many quiet nudges they may have been ignoring, how many introductions they may have brushed off, how many conversations carried more weight than they realized at the time. There's also a dimension of this that requires a certain kind of humility, the willingness to actually receive what God sends through other people without dismissing it out of pride or self-sufficiency. American culture tends to celebrate independence, the idea that a strong person figures things out on their own and doesn't need anyone's help. But when it comes to love, that mindset can become a wall that keeps the very blessing someone has been praying for from getting through. The chosen connections in life rarely arrive through pure isolation. They arrive through community, through vulnerability, through being known by others who then carry that knowledge into the world on someone's behalf. The Bible is rich with this principle, from Proverbs 11:14, which says there is wisdom in a multitude of counselors, to the early church model where believers were deeply interconnected in each other's lives and journeys. For the person who is serious about finding a God-led marriage, leaning into genuine community isn't just a nice idea. It may be the very mechanism God is waiting to use. The next messenger might already be in their contact list, sitting across from them at Sunday service, or standing in line right behind them at their favorite coffee shop. The question isn't whether God will send someone, it's whether they'll be paying close enough attention to recognize the messenger when they arrive. One of the most profound and least talked about gifts that God makes available to every believer is the ability to discern, to sense, recognize, and evaluate what is truly from Him versus what is simply appealing to the eyes or flattering to the ego. In the context of love and marriage, this gift becomes absolutely critical, because not every attractive person is the right person, and not every good feeling is a God feeling. The American dating landscape is filled with people who have made major relationship decisions based purely on chemistry, compatibility quizzes, or the intoxicating rush of new romance, only to find themselves years later wondering how they ended up so far from the life they imagined. Spirituality offers a completely different framework, one where the heart is trained to move in alignment with something deeper than emotion and more reliable than instinct alone. The Bible speaks to this in Proverbs 4:23, urging people to guard their hearts above all else, because everything they do flows from it. That instruction implies that the heart needs guidance, that it can be deceived, and that without a spiritual anchor, it can lead someone into the arms of the wrong person with complete confidence. Discernment isn't about being cold or analytical in matters of love. It's about being wise enough to invite God into the evaluation process, rather than presenting Him with a decision already made. For the person who has been chosen for a meaningful, lasting marriage, developing this kind of spiritual sensitivity isn't optional. It's the very thing that will allow them to say yes to the right person and no to the counterfeits that show up along the way. What discernment looks like in a practical, everyday sense is often misunderstood, because people tend to associate it with dramatic supernatural experiences, visions, audible voices, or signs written across the sky. But more often than not, spiritual discernment operates quietly, through a settled peace that doesn't waver even when circumstances are uncertain, or through a subtle unease that persists even when everything on the surface looks perfect. The Bible describes this kind of peace in Philippians 4:7 as something that surpasses all human understanding, meaning it doesn't always make logical sense, but it guards the heart and mind in a way that nothing else can. For someone genuinely seeking a God-led relationship, learning to distinguish between the peace that comes from God and the excitement that comes from attraction is one of the most important skills they can develop. Spirituality teaches that these two things don't always arrive together, and that excitement without peace is often a warning sign dressed up in very appealing clothing. Many heartbreaking marriages have begun with enormous excitement and zero peace, and many deeply fulfilling ones began with a quiet, almost inexplicable sense that this person was exactly right, even before the fireworks fully ignited. Developing that discernment takes time, prayer, and a willingness to be honest with oneself about what is really being felt beneath the surface of attraction and desire. There's also a communal aspect to discernment that often gets overlooked in an age that prizes personal autonomy above almost everything else. The Bible consistently shows that God confirms His direction, not just internally, but also through the witness of trusted community, through the affirmation of spiritually mature people who know someone well enough to speak truth into their life. When the people who love someone most, who have seen them at their best and their worst, consistently affirm a relationship with peace and joy, that collective confirmation carries enormous spiritual weight. And when those same trusted voices consistently express concern or hesitation, that too deserves serious consideration rather than dismissal. The chosen partner God has for someone will generally be someone whose presence makes them better, more grounded, more faithful, more aligned with the person God designed them to be. The Bible reinforces this in 2 Corinthians 6, not as a passage about fear, but as a principle about alignment, about how two people walking in the same spiritual direction will naturally strengthen each other in ways that mismatched partnerships simply cannot. For anyone serious about finding the right person for marriage, sharpening their discernment through consistent prayer, honest community, and a deepening spirituality isn't just helpful. It's the clearest path to recognizing the real thing when God finally places it right in front of them. There's a deeply human tendency to build a very specific picture in the mind of how love is supposed to arrive. The right setting, the right introduction, the right sequence of events that leads to the right person in a way that feels cinematic and perfectly scripted. And while there's nothing wrong with having hopes and preferences, that mental picture can sometimes become a cage that keeps someone from recognizing what God is actually doing right in front of them. The truth is, some of the most powerful, God-ordained love stories in both the Bible and in real life began in circumstances that nobody would have chosen or planned. Moses met his future wife at a well in a foreign land after fleeing everything he'd ever known. Jacob met Rachel while he was essentially a refugee, starting over with nothing. Ruth found Boaz while she was working in a field, humbled by grief and necessity, doing what she had to do just to survive. None of these settings were romantic by conventional standards. They were ordinary, sometimes difficult, sometimes even desperate circumstances that God turned into divine appointment rooms. For the person who has been waiting for love to show up in a specific package, through a specific door, at a specific point in life. This pattern from the Bible carries a liberating and exciting message. God is not limited by expectations, and the chosen partner He has for someone may be approaching through a door they haven't even thought to look at yet. Spirituality, at its core, is about staying open to what God is doing rather than insisting on what was imagined. What makes unexpected circumstances such a powerful vehicle for divine delivery is that they tend to strip away the performance and the pretense that often clutters more conventional romantic settings. When two people meet at a grief support group, or through a community service project, or in the aftermath of a shared hardship, they're meeting each other in a rawer, more authentic form than they would on a carefully curated first date. There's something about difficulty and unexpectedness that removes the mask and reveals character. And character is exactly what a lasting marriage is built on. The Bible makes this connection explicitly in Romans 5, where it describes how suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. That chain of development is also, in many ways, the chain of preparation for real love. The kind that doesn't collapse when life gets hard, because it was actually born in the hard places. Americans who have walked through seasons of loss, career transition, health challenges, or personal reinvention often find, looking back, that those exact seasons were when God was doing His most precise and purposeful work in their lives. The soulmate they eventually found wasn't waiting for them on the other side of their struggles. In many cases, they were walking through their own version of the same valley at the same time. And when two people who have both been shaped by the fire finally meet, there's a depth of understanding between them that comfortable, unchallenged people rarely experience. There's also something worth saying about the role of obedience and simple faithfulness in positioning someone for these unexpected divine deliveries. The people in the Bible who experienced the most remarkable love stories weren't usually on grand romantic quests. They were simply doing the next right thing, showing up where they were needed, serving where they were planted, and trusting God with the parts of their lives they couldn't control. Ruth wasn't looking for a husband when she went to glean in Boaz's field. She was taking care of her mother-in-law and doing honest work with what little she had. Her faithfulness in the ordinary created the conditions for something extraordinary. That same principle is alive and operating today for every person who is choosing to live with integrity, serve their community, grow in their spirituality, and trust God with the deepest desires of their heart. Marriage rarely arrives as a reward for romantic strategy. It arrives as a fruit of a life lived in faithful alignment with God's design. The unexpected place, the surprising circumstance, the detour that felt like a delay, these are often the exact coordinates where God has arranged for the chosen person to show up. And for the one who has been faithful in the waiting, the moment of recognition will feel less like a surprise and more like the answer to a prayer they've been carrying for a very long time. There's a conversation happening in the spiritual realm that most people are completely unaware of, and it begins the moment someone starts praying seriously and specifically about their future marriage. Prayer isn't just a religious ritual or a comforting habit. In the context of love and relationships, it becomes an active, powerful force that aligns the one praying with the very thing they're believing God for. The Bible is remarkably clear about this in Matthew 7:7, where it says, "Ask and it will be given. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened." And that promise doesn't have a footnote that excludes the desire for a God-honoring marriage. What many Americans don't fully grasp is that prayer doesn't just change circumstances. It changes the person doing the praying. It refines desires, clarifies vision, builds patience, and gradually shapes someone into the kind of partner they themselves are hoping to find. Spirituality, at its most practical level, is about becoming, not just receiving. And prayer is the engine of that becoming process. The person who prays consistently for their chosen partner isn't just waiting passively. They're actively participating in their own preparation and in the spiritual atmosphere that will eventually draw the right person into their life. This is why two people who have both been praying for the same kind of God-led relationship often recognize each other so quickly when they finally meet. Because they've both been shaped by the same process, pointed in the same direction, and prepared for the same kind of love. Prayer creates a kind of spiritual frequency, and those tuned to the same frequency tend to find each other in ways that defy ordinary explanation. What prayer does in the preparation process goes far beyond simply asking God for a spouse and then going about life unchanged. Genuine, persistent prayer over time produces a transformation in the person praying that makes them genuinely ready for the depth of relationship they've been seeking. It deals with the unresolved wounds that would otherwise sabotage a good thing. It softens the pride that would make intimacy impossible. It builds the faith that allows someone to be vulnerable without being reckless, open without being naive, and hopeful without being desperate. The Bible describes this transformation process in Romans 12:2 as the renewing of the mind, a complete reorientation of how someone thinks, perceives, and responds to the world around them. For someone believing God for a meaningful marriage, that renewed mind begins to recognize potential where a cynical mind would see risk, and begins to extend grace where a wounded mind would build walls. Spirituality that is rooted in genuine prayer produces a kind of emotional and relational health that is extraordinarily attractive, not in a superficial way, but in the deep, lasting way that draws the right kind of person and naturally filters out the wrong kind. The chosen partner God has for someone isn't just looking for physical compatibility or shared interests. They're looking, often without being able to articulate it, for someone whose inner life resonates with their own. And that inner life is built, brick by brick, through a consistent and honest prayer life. There's also a practical boldness that prayer produces in people who take it seriously. And that boldness plays a direct role in how God is able to deliver the right person into their life. Fear is one of the greatest obstacles to love. Fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability, fear of making the wrong choice, fear of being hurt again. But the Bible says in 2 Timothy 1:7 that God has not given a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. That sound mind, clear, courageous, and grounded, is exactly what allows someone to step toward a potential connection rather than retreating from it, to initiate a conversation rather than talking themselves out of it, to say yes to an invitation that their anxiety would have refused. Prayer builds that courage not by eliminating all uncertainty, but by producing a deep confidence in God's ability to lead, protect, and restore, regardless of outcome. For the American who has been burned before, who carries the weight of past relationship failures, who has quietly started to wonder if love is really in the cards for them, prayer is the most direct path back to hope. It reconnects them to the truth that they are not forgotten, that they are not too broken, that their story is not finished, and that the God who designed them for relationship has not abandoned that design. The marriage they've been dreaming of isn't just a wish. For the person who prays and prepares, it's a promise being actively fulfilled on a timeline that is already in motion. There's a reason why so many people find the right person only after they've done the hard, unglamorous work of becoming the right person. And that reason isn't coincidence, it's design. God is not simply in the business of delivering a soulmate to someone's doorstep, like a package that arrives on command. He's in the business of building people, shaping them from the inside out, and preparing them for a quality of love that their unprocessed, unhealed, untransformed self simply wouldn't have been capable of sustaining. This is one of the most counterintuitive truths in all of spirituality. And it's also one of the most liberating, because it means that the work someone does on themselves isn't a detour from their love story. It's actually the most important chapter of it. The Bible captures this beautifully in the image of the church as a bride who makes herself ready in Revelation 19:7. Readiness isn't passive, it's an active, intentional process of becoming. For the person who has been frustrated by what feels like an endless wait for marriage, shifting the question from, when is God going to send someone, to, what is God building in me right now, can be one of the most emotionally freeing and spiritually productive moves they ever make. That shift doesn't mean giving up on the desire. It means trusting that the desire and the development are happening simultaneously, and that God is working on both ends of the equation at the same time. The chosen partner is also being prepared, also being shaped, also being made ready. And when two prepared people finally meet, what they build together carries a foundation that unprepared love simply cannot replicate. Inner transformation, in the context of preparing for a God-led marriage, touches every dimension of a person's life: emotional, spiritual, relational, and even physical. It means doing the honest work of identifying and healing the patterns that have repeatedly led to the wrong relationships or the same painful outcomes. It means developing emotional intelligence, the ability to communicate clearly, listen generously, regulate feelings under pressure, and show up consistently rather than only when it's convenient. It means building a spiritual life that is genuinely personal and deeply rooted, not performed for appearances, but lived from the inside out. The Bible speaks to this kind of wholeness in 1 Thessalonians 5:23, where Paul prays for the complete sanctification of spirit, soul, and body. A holistic transformation that leaves nothing untouched. Spirituality that produces this kind of wholeness doesn't just make someone a better individual. It makes them a better partner, a better communicator, a better friend, and ultimately, a better spouse. Americans who have invested seriously in their own inner growth often report that their entire experience of relationships shifts dramatically. They stop attracting chaotic connections and start drawing people of genuine substance and character into their lives. That shift isn't magic, and it isn't luck. It's the natural result of becoming on the inside what they've been praying for on the outside. When someone becomes whole, they stop looking for another person to complete them and start looking for someone to complement them. And that distinction makes all the difference in the world. The most powerful thing about inner transformation as a pathway to love is that it produces a version of a person that is simultaneously more attractive and more discerning, which means they not only draw better people into their orbit, but are also better equipped to recognize and choose wisely among them. The insecure person settles because they're afraid nothing better will come. The wounded person repeats cycles because unhealed pain is louder than wisdom. But the transformed person, the one who has walked through the fire of honest self-examination, genuine repentance, consistent spiritual growth, and courageous healing, operates from a completely different place. They can wait without desperation because they've found contentment. They can hope without obsession because they've found peace. They can love generously because they've received love from the only source that never disappoints. The Bible describes this mature, transformed love in 1 Corinthians 13, not as a feeling, but as a practiced set of choices, patient, kind, humble, enduring, choices that only a genuinely transformed person can make consistently over the long haul of a real marriage. For the person reading this, who has been doing the work, who has been in the process, who has been growing even when it was painful, and choosing God even when it was hard. This is the message they need to hear. The transformation they've been walking through isn't a detour. It isn't a punishment. And it isn't a sign that love has passed them by. It is, in fact, the very road that leads directly to the door where their chosen person is already waiting.